أعزائي المشاهدين، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته، ونرحب بكم في حلقة جديدة من برنامج الحد الأدنى. هذه الحلقة لديها ظلال خاصة في العلاقات التاريخية الممتدة بين روما والخرطوم، ولا شك أن العلائق التاريخية التي تربط السودان بإيطاليا تمتد إلى جذور عميقة جدا من التلاقي الاجتماعي والاهتمام السياسي، حيث ظلت إيطاليا طوال التاريخ عنصر وعامل فاعل جدا في قضايا السياسة الإقليمية، خاصة في مناطق شرق السودان، وكانت جزء من الحقبة الاستعمارية القديمة ولها تأثيرات كبيرة جدا على تاريخ السودان القديم. هذه الحلقة نخصصها للحوار مع سعادة سفير إيطاليا بالخرطوم فابريزو لوباسو، الذي يصحبنا في هذه الحلقة من أجل نقلب بعض صفحات التاريخ وآفاق المستقبل للعلاقات بين البلدين. Mr. Ambassador, we are really grateful and honored to have you in our show.
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام. السفير فابريزو لوباسو وصل إلى السودان في مارس 2015، والآن هو في نهاية مدة خدمته كسفير للسودان، كسفير لإيطاليا في السودان، وسيأتي خلفه في الأيام القليلة القادمة، لكن هذه الحلقة نخصصها فترة عمل في السودان. السفير لوباسو عمل أيضا كدبلوماسي إيطالي في اليونان وكذلك في شيلي، كما تقلد نائب رئيس البعثة الإيطالية للقمة الثمانية من قبل، ومن ثم عمل سفيرا للسودان كما سفيرا في السودان في مارس 2015. Maybe the starting point, Excellency, there is a diplomatic proverb that diplomats cry twice: when they have the news they are coming to Sudan, and when they are asked to leave Sudan. Do you have that impression that you familiarize yourself with the social setting, with the culture, and with the Sudanese people during your tenure as ambassador here?
Absolutely, yes. I still remember the first time that I came here, I was full of the classic stereotypes on Sudan. And but 5 minutes after I landed, immediately I started feeling the beauty of the people around, the trust, the smiling, the generosity, this big advertisement, Sudan, country of diversity. And so I said, something is unbalanced between the stereotypes and what I'm feeling here. In fact, if I have to say, just the most important thing that I can say is that after 4.5 years, I'm deeply rooted into the Sudanese society. I've met a lot of people, and I can go away from here saying that I have a lot of friends, and these friends will be forever.
Excellency, I think among the Sudanese people you are a well-known face, using public diplomacy in a very effective way, and still Sudanese remember your tuk-tuk journey, promoting one of the cultural events that you had before. I mean, and a true face of the Italian presence in Sudan. I mean, maybe would like to ask, how do Italy perceives the political change that happened in Sudan?
Yeah. First of all, let me say that a very important and famous diplomat in the past in Italy, they say that the secret of his success was, they don't see me coming. I'm completely the opposite. So probably I will not have any success because they do see me coming,
yes,
just in all the forms and shapes. Italy is, since the very beginning, since long time, supports Sudan in this transitional democratic pathway. Mm-hmm. I think one of the most important characteristics of Italians and Italy as a country is patience and firm when it's the moment, but also this kind of attitude to dialogue, to emotional and fulfilled exchange of opinions, values. So we perceive that something is on the move in Sudan, and we are more than happy about that. In the framework of the European Union and the international community, it couldn't be different like this, because we can see that people start, hoping again, having this kind of blossoming of creativity, of also, just in the streets sometimes. I still remember a couple of events, cultural events I participated in the last week, and all people shouting out Madania, Madania, that has no linkage, just with the cultural event, and it was so moving for all of us. So probably this is an incredible epical moment for the Sudanese people, and we are very content, because before, today, and in the future, we like walking hand in hand with Sudanese people. So we really trust in this.
But honestly, I mean, we had a democratic transition before, in the 80s. But one of the root causes of the failure, that the international community was reluctant to support the success of democratic transition at that time. Do you think international community, including Italy, this time are committed to support the full democratic transition and not to be a reluctant supporter for this, unlike in the past?
Yeah. Speaking about the present, for all the efforts that we did, especially in the last months, in the last weeks, as European Union, meeting the TMC, the FFC, sometimes 3 times a day, sometimes at night, sometimes moderating, sometimes taking little part and building bridges, I would say yes. Italy, since 2 days, has been invited to participate to the group of friends of Sudan.
Oh, this is good news.
This is, and also the news of the group of friends is very good, because it's not a Westerner entity.
It's a Western club.
It's not anymore a Westerner club, because it includes the most important also
regional players
and interlocutors, like, for example, the Arabic Peninsula.
Yes.
And it's a very transversal group that has as a focus support Sudan in this particular moment, because politics and economics, they go together. So there will be no political full and positive transition without giving some important signs of well-being to the people, and we have to do our part in this, with safety nets, with development cooperation, with programs and trainings to people, in order to allow the splendid people of Sudan also to start a process of self-sustainability on the process of the economic growth and the redistribution of the resources. And we are there, and I can see that my partners, our meetings, our reports, there's a great, great hope and a great commitment from our part.
The 2 major challenges for this democratic transformation and transitional period may be mainly peacemaking and economy.
Absolutely.
And I think without the help of the international community in general, and Italy in particular, that we might find more difficulties to overcome these kind of challenges. I would like just, to have some assurances that our partners, Alfred, are well aware of our real challenge and problem regarding these 2 issues, and to what extent they are willing to support.
Absolutely. I would say, obviously, when we talk about international community, we have different partners, different visions, and different stories, obviously.
Absolutely.
So what we try to do every day in every meeting is to balance different positions, finding common values and common points in order to proceed all together to the support of Sudan. Obviously, I can talk about Italy, and probably I can interpret also the thought of European Union. The most important thing is that, on the one end, the first sign of a positive pathway could have a fantastic effect on the creation of a new narrative for Sudan. I've always said, for example, also speaking with a lot of your colleagues, my colleagues here, and the institutional authority, how important is the role of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, as in Italy, for example, in order to promote the system of a country in the wall. That means changing the narrative, especially for people that unfortunately know about Sudan through media, through reports, and they don't live directly in this country.
The stereotyping kind of image
Exactly.
of Sudan right now.
That unfortunately sometimes reach also very, very high level people, for example, in politics, in parliamentary environments. And we have to work together in order to start changing this narrative, so to have this kind of domino effects. Correct. In order to create this competition to solidarity, to the benefit of the people of Sudan. So
what we call it rebranding.
Exactly.
The image of the country.
I love communication, as you know. And,
yes.
The rebranding it's fundamental. I just to have a moment of fun after a haboob.
Yes.
My house, my car, our embassy was completely yellow. And so I had an idea. I can launch it to yourself. Please take it as a new enterprise of Sudan. Please, as a trademark, try to register yellow haboob as a Sudanese, just official color, because this could be, just fantastic for the mode, for the bag, for jalabiyas, for, just tob, something like that. Is this what I mean?
Yes, correct.
This kind of creativity is not by me, that I can do it by fun. But for example, I speak to a lot of young people, and they are very, very ready, to show off with incubators, enterprises, little enterprises, idea. Look at, for example, in the cinema, what happened in Venice with this last prize. Sudan is a cornucopia of creativity, of good, of future. We have to catch it, and we have to help. Italy is on the front line for that.
Correct. And regarding this social mobilization and the political change, Sudanese are very proud of two aspects of it. That it is peaceful and strong participation of youth and women. Any reflection on that?
Absolutely, yes. Peaceful. I think that diversity has two faces. One face is the negative part, that is being afraid of our interlocutor because the resources are scarce, and so I build wall. The other part of diversity is the continual mood of this intercultural, which is always creating progressive synthesis in order to give maximum benefits to the maximum number of people. Sudan has the chromosomes.
Yes.
As we will speak after, if you want, about also the Sufism and, just this sensation that I had in these years, has this chromosomes, as these prodromes of positive diversity. Probably there is no complete and full self-consciousness of how peaceful can be Sudan, because maybe the past people, the condition, the geopolitics pushed on the negative part. Once Sudan discovered the beautifulness of the positive part of diversity, it will be a kind of boom, an incredible example for all the world, Africa, Arab world, with this kind of mix, north, south, east, overs, Christian, Muslim. Because I really believe, I'm not an idealistic, I'm a very practical person, I really believe that the diversity can be a positive thing. About youth, I can tell you, I've never seen in all cultural events, sometimes, just my security at the embassy, they say, you have invited too many young people and we don't have a list, to let them in. And I say, please, let me do it, just into, not only in the Comboni, but in University of Khartoum, El Nilain University, International University of Africa, the UMST. All these people, young people, because they are fresh, they give new idea, they don't have, just stereotypes, they are brilliant. And here in Sudan, there is an incredible creativity that must emerge, and it will push the country towards, just years and years of well-being. But we have to create the condition for this to emerge.
Excellency, I would like to touch upon the bilateral relation.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, you are working different aspects to promote our bilateral relation. Politics, economy, development, cultural exchange. And also introducing Italian culture and cuisine and diet to the Sudanese. What is the main achievement you think that you had realized during the last time?
Yeah. First of all, I would say the first achievement is to have proven to myself that my intercultural approach is effective and works. What does it mean? If I have to offer something to the people of Sudan in politics, culture, development, cooperation, law, communication, solidarity, I can approach by importing from Italy my stereotypes and trying to sell it to you, or first stopping myself and starting sensing what's Italy for you? What do you want from us? What is the imagination of Italy that you have? And on that kind of positive stereotypes to work to give my offer.
Yes.
It worked. In politics, for example, they say Italians as a good face into the international community to listen to us and to take us into the important folders. We did it. Mediterranean, migration, dialogue, and all the international important folders concerning the Mediterranean. Sudan is now in the center.
Part of it, yes.
Part of it. In trade, okay, let's see around. Fantastic trust since the past, the Fiat,
Yes.
the Generali, the beautiful...
And I think you are fond of the old Sudanese song about
Oh yeah, the
Fiat.
Fiat. Cycle Fiat.
Fiat driver. Cycle Fiat, yes.
Cycle Fiat, yes. I also, yes, I made a duet with some Sudanese singer. I don't know, probably is on YouTube, but please, if you can erase it. Because no, I'm joking, but also in that, we had a sort of opinion, positive opinion, and we worked on that. Development cooperation, we are considered as a social stabilizer in the eastern part because
Yes.
we worked. And we worked in a certain way in order to empower people to self-sustainability, not only exporting our help and giving to you as a simple activity. In cultural, this has been even more fascinating because when I came here, with the help of the Department of Statistics of of the University of Khartoum, we have organized an investigation, a sort of inquiry with, I think, 2,000 young people of Sudan. And we asked, what is Italy for you? What is the typical stereotype? What is the cultural part that you like? And the answers were very clear. Food, soccer,
Yes.
cinema, language, and into this also some particular attention. By knowing so and knowing all that, it was very, very easy for us to think that the week of the Italian cuisine in Sudan cannot be something in order we make advertisement of the Italian gourmet and very, very rich and classy food.
No.
But we have to encounter the Sudanese culture on some common ground, which was, for example, legumes.
Yes.
And the putting together carbohydrates and legumes, which is pasta and faves, pasta and lentils, pasta and beans, which is our tradition. We call it poor cuisine. La tradizione is cucina povera,
Yeah.
which encountered the favor of people, especially in the suburbs of Khartoum, in order to say, listen, if you add a little bit of rice or a little bit of pasta to that, you are eating Italian, but also you are doubling and tripling the nutritive apportionment that you can give to your children. Or, for example, in the cinema, of course.
So you have a concept for everything you provide.
Exactly. There is an idea behind, and we try to put into practice. And I have to say, this is to come back to your first question, this is my achievement for myself. I feel that I had a good intuition in that because it's working. It's not imposing what we think Italy is for you, but listening to you, what is Italy for you? Okay, we have it, please. Okay. It's just like a little bit of a seller of, I don't know, carpets, just like, but it's not like that. It's much more
And I think
intellectual.
the famous tuk-tuk photos and journey came from this kind of event.
Yes.
Maybe if you focus a little bit about the economic and development project. I know that Italy is, through its international cooperation, is very active in the eastern part, in Darfur.
Sure.
So what kind of support in social development and development project are you providing Sudanese people?
About commerce and trade, I'm very proud because even if we are talking about still, just minimum quantity, we have tripled the interchange between Italy and Sudan.
The trade balance.
Yeah, the trade balance, absolutely. In these difficult conditions, and we push in international fora because of Italy in some way helping Sudan in order to gain more and more trust, for example, with the debt relief, with the list of countries sponsor of terrorism, and all this kind of activities that once, just we managed to put Sudan, just into the good perspective from outside. Obviously, financially speaking, economically speaking, there will be a multiplier effect, and we are there. So we have to go on, but also, as I think the Prime Minister Hamdok said, we have to slowly abandon the idea of a consumer society to go to a producer society, because you
from humanitarian assistance to
exactly
development assistance,
and also discover all this kind of just the handcrafts and just middle-ranged goods, not only the raw materials, to export in order to. For example, we had last week a very important entrepreneurs of meat, on how the process, just of transforming, just the meat into different products from the A to Z. Development cooperation is an exciting, really, it's a fantastic sphere, and I'm happy that the Agency of Italian Cooperation and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs accepted my intuition to start enlarging and increasing our geopolitical area into Darfur. We have a project that is going to start with money of the European Union in the delegated cooperation. We have another one with UNDP. In January, emergency NGO will start reopening the Niala hospital with money from Italy and money from European Union. So I have to say that I understood that after 15 years in the eastern part, we will go on in the eastern part, but we have to go to west part. How? With a particular and peculiar way of having development cooperation in Italy, which is community stabilization.
But Excellency, because we are going to a brief break, but before that we have just a question. I mean, we know that there are some constraints for enterprise and investment here, but there is a great potential for Italian investors to come to invest in Sudan in a specific field. For example, tannery and leather manufacturing, and all that. This kind of industry is Sudan has a great potential because of the raw material and all that.
Yes.
Any idea that Italian enterprise and Italian companies might come to Sudan?
Absolutely, yes. This is, for example, the way of using development cooperation in order to train Sudanese enterprise to start producing this kind of goods. Italy, for example, in tannery is very, very good. There are some enterprises in Khartoum that I visited full of machinery from Italy. So if it is difficult, for example, to having direct enterprise, we have to start to shape, just the little micro entrepreneurs of Sudan. So this could be, for example, in tannery, in agriculture, microfinancing, solidal agriculture. And for example, we used a very nice tool, which is an MBA from University Cattolica of Milan and UMST, in order to shape the new entrepreneurs of Sudan, because we started our competition from give us an idea of a small enterprise and we will develop. We will start with the incubation and then we will develop it. So it's the good mix between development, cooperation, economic and trade. There is something that I'm pushing a lot, and I hope this will be really the winning tool for the future.
أعزائي المشاهدين، نشكر لكم حسن المشاهدة في هذا الجانب. فاصل قصير ثم نعود، فابقوا معنا. We're going to have a small break. أعزائي المشاهدين، نرحب بكم مرة أخرى ونحن نواصل الحوار في برنامج الحد الأدنى مع السفير الإيطالي في الخرطوم فابريزو لوباسو، حيث استعرضنا في الجزء الأول من الحوار آفاق العلاقات السودانية الإيطالية وكذلك الفرص المستقبلية المتاحة وما يعترضها من تحديات موضوعية هنا وهناك. لكن في الجزء الثاني من هذا الحوار نقف على دراسات معمقة قام بها السفير الإيطالي في الخرطوم في دراسة التصوف الإسلامي كأحد العوامل الثقافية الكابحة لمحاربة التطرف العنيف. ومن ضمن إنجازات الشخصية للسيد السفير أنه أنجز أطروحة الدكتوراه في إحدى الجامعات السودانية حول دور التصوف في محاربة التطرف العنيف أو التطرف من ناحية عامة. Excellency, on the second part, we might shed some light, some focus on your academic deep research and thesis. And this is aspect of intercultural interaction and understanding more and deeply the Sudanese culture. Maybe what brought you to think about Sufism as part of the cultural aspect of the Sudanese life? Why your focus on Sufism first? And what is your motivation to choose this topic in the Sudanese culture?
So interesting. Since the first days, I was immediately invited by some friends to attend some ceremony. So in Italy, there is a good tradition of Sufism. There are a lot of scholars writing about that. So as soon as I understood the importance into the Sudanese society, I decided to deepen my knowledge. Now I know much better why. I think that religion can be approached by a twofold way. One way is very spiritual and esoterical.
Yes.
The other one is more by writing, by reading, by heart, because of the importance of the scripture.
Yes.
Probably I'm a little bit on the first phase, as a Napolitan, probably, I don't know. So when I start seeing that this was, this kind of approach, I felt very, very much attached. But the most important thing is that connected with the question of before about the real essence of society, Sufism has an approach to diversity which is inclusive. This inclusion, it's something that I really, as an intercultural student,
you are a scholar, not a student.
I'm a scholar, okay. But I've always, just seen in everything of my life, just this kind of inter-attitude towards the others. So it was very, very natural. And at a certain moment, I understood that one of the big stereotypes in the past that was terrorism, violent extremism, radicalism, was conflicting and fighting with some other ideas that you can have.
The social values.
And the social values, and when you live in Sudan, and the fact that you don't feel harassed by any kind of energy in this. So I decided to deepen the situation, and I have to say that I found incredible professors and scholars on my pathway here in Sudan. And even if with a lot of fatigue, in the end, I reached, just the end. And I defended my thesis 1 month ago, and I'm very happy because also for me it was a dream, because before being a diplomat I started my university career and then I had to stop because of the new job.
Okay, but in your thesis and deep research, you focus on the Sufism or new Sufism as the counter mechanism to violent extremism.
Yes.
Having this, what do you call it, the framework of the social values and Sufism values, promoting tolerance, coexistence, diversity, spirituality, is always contradicted with radicalism.
Yes.
And all that. Do you think this is the essence of the Sudanese culture that prevent radicalization and violent extremism to have footstep in the country?
Absolutely, yes. The secret, I think, of Sudan, Sufism in Sudan and the society is the communitarian approach. When you face a problem like it could be radicalism as a community, the result is much more effective than as a bilateral way. So the first part of my study was trying to understand to what extent Sufism here was not only a social phenomenon, but was a political phenomenon. Not only for the the stereotypes of politics, but in
what context?
In the context, for example, of people, the way of dialoguing also with the governors in the past and now, and also the belonging of the majority of the people in some Sufi turuk. So after I understood how much deep was Sufism into society, into politics, and into the social affairs, I really understood why this community approach, it's a way of, I would say, making humid the fire of radicalism, obviously maybe not preventing some import phenomenon like this, but lowering the level really to the minimum. And only by studying and by living here and looking at people and talking to people, you can understand how this is a long-term phenomenon. It's not something, but because of this long-term phenomenon, I think Sudan needs, in my opinion and in my thesis, more self-consciousness on the powerfulness of this deep roots of Sufism in order to shape a strategy for the future and being more and more effective by the consciousness of having an incredible tool to keep the problem at bay.
But some critique here in Sudan perceive Sufism as reactionary, perceive is part of the old regime, is anti-modernism. But in your thesis, you have different point of view.
Yes.
You think that Sufism and new Sufism is part of the modern setting of the social life, the value system that they have, also deeply connected with the current. How do you conceptualize Sufism in the context of the perception of some people that this is not part of our modern society, is not part of our modern thinking. It is an obstacle for a modern society or something like
yes. that. In terms of politics, I've met more or less 12 different turuk. I have to say that only in one case I heard, in fact in the thesis at a certain moment I tried to speak about that because it was an interesting phenomenon. I heard about a direct participation into politics of some people that wanted to create a party.
For Sufism?
For Sufism, which can be, just interesting as in theory, but in terms of a number of people was a minority, probably. The majority was a way of being reluctant to enter into the politics, into the deep state, even having, just a lot of affiliations. So what I perceived, especially in Neo-Sufism, is the idea that Sufism is a tool in order to mild and to cure society more, and with having constituencies, and this is the political significance, more than participating into old, present or future political, strict, institutional, governmental society.
Right. Yes.
And this was the majority of opinions that I have. And you asked me if for the future this could be like this. Yes, to the extent that also the tariqas and the brotherhoods of Sufism, they can include more young people. Because I've seen that the average also, it's quite, in terms of years, just age, it's quite high. So the more you include with new tools, for example, communication, the web, something that they are doing outside, especially in the diaspora, in England, in France, and in India, in Pakistan, where there are incredible Sufi, and also some branches of Sufism in Sudan, including more young people. This exchange of generational pathways probably will benefit also to the conception of Sufism, not seen as a sort of deep-rooted element of the past,
yes,
but probably as a pushing force toward the future.
And you said that, part of your recommendation is the self-awareness of the powerful essence
Yes.
of Sufism is very important. But I guess there are many ways how to counter violent extremism. One of them through a legal approach, conceptual reformation approach, but Sufism has a spiritual approach.
Yes.
How powerful and effective is Sufism approach vis-a-vis the other two aspects, the legal approach or the intellectual reformation approach?
Very interesting. Many years ago, I heard a fantastic census that said that, you know, in the future we need a little bit more of science into the faith, into religion, and a little bit more of faith and religion into science. That means that probably a completely oriented and spiritual approach can be less effective as a completely juridical and psychological approach. I think Islam is, you know, a way of life. It's love for people, you know, just that go beyond the stereotypes. And the spiritual part, you know, just you cannot detach the spiritual part from the approach, you know, just to the plug of society. But on the other end, relying too much on spiritual, even sometimes to the practice, I don't know, of the dhikr or of prayers or the mantra, it could be reductive to the need that already started. I saw also speaking with some authorities in Sudan, they started also thinking about the psychological part.
Yeah.
There is a, obviously, that's why the society and the communitarian group is very, very important. The majority of, especially young people, going radical is because they have a psychological lack, psychological pain inside that can be also increased by unemployment, by solitude, the solitude of globalization. That's why a perfect mix of the spiritual on the four levels: physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. The first mix of the four levels, and Sudan has the potentialities to do it, I think would give a boost into self-consciousness on how much Sufism can be important to go on preventing young people to go wild, to go out of the pathway. So less ideology, because, for example,
more spiritualism.
More, yes, and even sometimes also a practical approach. I've heard, for example, a beautiful sheikh that I met. They said, you know, just we have to speak with these people and include them because Islam is love. This is really a fantastic truth. But I think that we need also a little bit of ingredient of, okay, this is the basis. Then let's go on structuring and frameworking.
And institutionalizing.
And institutionalizing more and more. Because not only is after, but it's the prevention that is important. And the prevention is probably the ground in which Sufism can do more and more for the Sudanese society.
But I understood that from your own perception that delinking Sufism from politics and more institutionalization of this approach to cure and to prevent young people to join extremism over there. Maybe, do you think, in a critical way, do you think Sufism put special consideration for women because they are focused on youth, but mainly men?
True.
As a critical thinking approach, do you recommend to include women in this narrative?
If I may, by my humble point of view, of course, because I'm not, you know, just I really don't want to, but the answer is yes. Personally, you know, just when I see women working, loving, having relationship in friendship and in work, they are superior human beings. We must say that. The future, you know, just is women. Women is the image of even a sort of creation to give birth,
yes,
to give life.
Yes.
So the inclusion according and in the perfect framework of religion, of our ideas, of a culture, of timing, I think is necessary, because it would be an incredible contribution, because in the community you need the male psychism, but you need also the female psychism in order to have this counterpart of energies that can give to the group, you know, just the complexity and the completeness of a tool. So, and also about politics. If we see the politics in a very trivial way, which is parties, parliaments, in this, it will be very, very reductive. For me, the idea of politics as, you know, just the old thinkers like, I don't know, from Plato to Machiavelli to the others, I think politics is the capacity, the capability of investing on a constituency by proposing positive message, being there for the constituency, and having some people that guide the group, the mob, towards evolution. This is the force of politics.
This is the essence of politics.
The essence of politics, and this is what I see as a potential, immense potential in Sudan.
I mean, I mean, this is also the original source of the verb politics in Arabic language.
Exactly.
Had the same meaning.
Yeah, exactly, the same meaning. Yes, polis. Yes.
Yes, is the same meaning. Could you give us a summary or overview about the recommendation that you provide in your thesis?
Yes, I divided it in 3 sections. First was, you know, just self-consciousness, then, you know, just studying a little bit the tools that we have, and then the activities for the future. In terms of self-consciousness, for example, I would say that it's very, very important to go on fighting radicalism on the same basis and the same tools that radicalism uses, you know, just to denigrate,
yes,
you know, the positive part. For example, a lot of extremists and radicalists, they are also thugs. They are criminals.
Yes.
They do violence, you know, just they mix, you know, just, and they pretend, you know, just to be, you know, just follower of Islam. Islam doesn't accept something like that.
Correct.
So this is the big contradiction in order to push. Using communication and internet and the web more. Websites, but not in a passive way, in order to reach wider part of the community.
Message.
Yes, to pass a message. I think, I don't remember the country, but there is some country in which there is an application on the telephone. The name is iSheikh, which is fantastic because it's a way of widespreading. Then, as we said before, rebranding, also Sufism, and I allowed myself to something new. I invented this word, spiritual diplomacy.
Yes.
Is a spiritual diplomacy, is the way of being what I am, self-conscious of what I am, and trying to play my role into diplomacy, which is linked to another important thing, networking. Networking is conferences, activities, workshops, internationally speaking, in order to have more and more creating the net and having this kind of exchange. And also modernization of members, including trying to making it appeal for youth to come in and to work in social service, and probably also the use of even language is changing a lot, you know, just in SMS, in WhatsApp, in Facebook, trying to connect, to interlink with the changing into society, knowing that for the good purpose, even, you know, just Sufism, even Turuk may ride the globalization in a good way, giving a positive image of the changing and not being overcome by the novelty, being
reactionary. And there is in our first part, when you talk about you feel safe in Sudan, and the sense of the Sudanese people, hospitality and openness and all that. I get there is a common heritage of tolerance in the Sudanese value system and the Sudanese society here. I mean, how Sudanese people can promote this kind of common heritage of peacefulness, of tolerance. So physical and mental, definitely,
yes,
over there.
Absolutely, but even out of Sufism, maybe promoting more interfaith dialogue, which is something that I heard already here. We did it. For example, we had also some Italian guests from Sant'Egidio.
Yes.
But especially participating, just we have incredible example like Comboni here, and a lot of intelligentsia from Sudan sending, just their children to study into
For the last 100 years.
100 years. So that's why, I'm very...
It's a great symbol, actually, of tolerance in Sudan.
That's why I'm so fond on this issue, because the potentiality is there. The soil is fertile, but it's just a question of self-consciousness and starting working on what it's already on the move. So, for example, more international occasions. Sudan, I don't want to exaggerate, it could be an incredible example in the future of how a mixed and diverse and complicated society may turn into a positive example with the functional contribution of every part into the whole. It's just like, we don't need to make a milkshake. We need to make a fruit salad. And the fruit salad, you can have the peach and tasting it with the flavor of the melon, the watermelon close, which would not be the same if you take it out from the salad. So it's exactly the colorfulness and the splendid perfection of a mixed and diverse plate that could be the real secret of this country.
Your Excellency, I mean, we really enjoyed the talk with you regarding the bilateral relation, and we are appreciating very much your achievement as an ambassador during your time here, and also we had the pleasure to discuss with you the academic thesis that you have achieved in the Sudanese society, and specifically picking up and choosing a very important topic and subject regarding Sufism and vis-a-vis an effective tool to counter the violent extremism. I will give you the final word before we conclude our discussion.
Thank you. I really, I don't want to exaggerate, but I want to thank Sudanese people for the way they treated me. It's not something that I take for granted, and if I opened a lot of doors, it's not only because of my job or my predecessor or the esteem that Sudan has for Italy, but for every person that I've met that in some way gave me the floor in order to do a step forward. So really, I would say to the people of Sudan, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself, because in the deep soul there is a lot to discover, and especially a lot to show to the people outside, because Sudan has disappeared on the international community radar for too long.
For too long,
And now is the moment in order to show, what you missed for 30 years in terms of people and the soul.
And we have something to contribute.
Absolutely. And, just even from Italy, I will be there. You have a friend.
أعزائي المشاهدين، لا نجد أفضل من هذه الكلمات التي اختتم بها سعادة السفير فابريزو لوباسو حديثه عن الكرم السوداني والانفتاح والاحتفاء الذي وجده من السودانيين خلال فترته الموجودة هنا، لكنها أيضا ساهم بدرجة كبيرة جدا في ليس فقط تطوير العلاقات في المجالات السياسية والاقتصادية، لكن حتى في المجالات الثقافية والدراسات المعمقة التي أجراها حول التصوف في السودان ودوره في محاربة التطرف العنيف وما يسمى الإرث السوداني المشترك حول التسامح الموجود. لا نجد خير من هذه الكلمات لختام هذا الحوار. لكم الشكر والتقدير. تقبلوا تحياتي خالد موسى، تحيات الفريق العامل، وإلى اللقاء في حلقة أخرى. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. Thank you very much.
مع السلامة.
مع السلامة.
مع السلامة.